BBC gets called out once again, guys. The BBC Panorama gets roasted by the Ryanair boss, Michael O'Leary. This one should be hilarious, guys. One of my loyal Patreon supporters sent me this video, so it should be crazy, guys. I get sent the wildest videos all the time, so hopefully it's a little bit entertaining. Of course, over here, guys, at County Gains News Network, we have our own sort of news network. The BBC has nothing on County Gains News Network. We actually hate the BBC over here. Any mainstream media platform, guys, I'm totally against, as you know. Okay, I report the news honest, fresh, and open, so leave your news stories in the description down below, and I will get back to everybody. Let's hear what Michael O'Leary says. This is an old interview. This is 10 years old, but it has like 1 million views, so.
Hello, folks.
Oh, hello, Mr.
O'Leary. Panorama.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Why is it you won't agree not to an unedited interview? It's very surprising if the BBC is interested in free speech.
Because
you won't agree to an unedited interview.
if it was a live program, of course it would be unedited.
But it's a recorded program. Yeah, as long as you don't edit it. But all you want to do now is ask the questions and then cut the answers. Sorry, if you want to agree to an unedited interview, happy to answer any questions you have. It's quite straightforward.
But this conversation we're having.
So he's saying like you can't edit the interviews to make me look bad, because that's what they do. The BBC takes stuff out of context when themselves they have a long history. You know, Hugh Edwards, you know, who's a pervert as well. You have the other guy who is also you know, Jimmy Savile, and then you have loads of other people, guys. Loads of people on BBC have come out as like complete creeps and weirdos. So very, 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 very strange network. But they also edit things to make people look bad. So
Now
will be cut to suit the Panorama agenda. If you want to agree to
the agenda. What's the agenda?
If you want to agree to an uncut interview, happy to do an interview. You don't have any points. I've seen some of the correspondence you've made, and all you want to do is agree to an uncut interview so that Panorama don't censor it, don't cut it to suit your agenda. Happy to do the interview.
We would like to ask you about.
Yeah, if they just didn't censor everything, guys, and were fair, then people would like them.
Secret of the success of Ryanair, and we would like to ask you.
Secret to the success of Ryanair comes from offering the lowest fares in Europe and providing the best customer service. That's why 67 million people this year will fly with us.
And I'd like to
far
ask
more
you
people than will watch Panorama, as you know, or indeed the BBC.
And we'd like to ask you if you're confident that your passengers will go on trusting you, so long as there are hidden costs.
There's no hidden costs. You see, it's a Panorama agenda. There are no hidden costs in Ryanair. All the costs are detailed on the website. You're not allowed to make a booking on the website unless you agree, if you want those services, unless you agree to pay for those services.
So this was around a time that they're trying to get a scoop. They're trying to get a new inside story that there was hidden charges on Ryanair. But guys, Ryanair flights are like a tenner. You know, if you want to go to flipping Croatia, it's like €10 return. So like any hidden fees wouldn't be anything major, guys. Like, don't be so cheap that you can't pay hidden fees. Like, that's crazy.
If you want to agree to an uncut interview, we'd be happy to give you one.
And we'd like to ask you about flying a hard bargain with all the people you deal with, because that is famously how you've done so well. You fly very hard bargains with everybody you deal with. That's how you do it, isn't it?
Bargain mean?
Drive a hard bargain.
Well, I think the BBC would be an awful lot better off if, instead of wasting taxpayers' money or the licence fee money on castles and senior executives, you actually went out and did some hard bargaining. We guarantee.
He's just roasting the BBC. BBC are terrible, guys. They're just like propaganda merchants, basically.
The lowest airfares in Europe. We're the only airline to guarantee no fuel surcharges, no matter what the price of oil. And we do that because we are tough with suppliers. We don't believe that passengers should pay or consumers should pay for either the fat or the incompetent management of many of the other high-fare fuel surcharging airlines in Europe. And Panorama has an agenda that, why should Ryanair negotiate? We negotiate on behalf of our consumers. That's why our average fare this year will fall to £30.
It's very flattering.
If you want to agree to an uncut interview, I'd be happy to agree to an uncut interview, not a doorstep interview.
It's very flattering. It's very flattering.
What do we think of the BBC?
It's very flattering of you to suggest that the
doorstep interview. So they're kind of like, this is like ambush journalism type of thing.
Film is about Panorama. It's not. It's about Ryanair.
Vote yes to the Lisbon referendum in 2 weeks' time as well.
Our programme goes out after that's been.
Also So by
this guy's getting like way too close and a bit touchy. He's like putting his hands all over Michael O'Leary. Like, kind of stay back a little bit, you know, a bit strange, guys.
shares in Ryanair, Europe's largest, lowest fares airline. Sadly, this will all be cut out of the Panorama programme because Panorama have an agenda.
That's class. He's basically using the BBC as promotion for his airlines. That's class.
That despite the fact that Ryanair being the lowest fared airline in Europe, despite the fact that Ryanair being Britain's favourite airline, this year carrying 3 times the number of passengers of British Airways, that doesn't suit the BBC agenda. Honestly, would you believe I have to go and do an interview with BBC You and Yours programme at 12 o'clock? I'm sure you know it. It also has an agenda, bizarrely to me, about
And will it be a live programme?
Yes, it's live interviews.
Then it'll
That's
be live
the basis
and
on which
uncut,
I do. But all you have to do is to agree
give
to an
him
interview
taped.
that's uncut. Most of this will be cut because it doesn't suit your agenda. If you want
What
to,
on earth do you imagine?
What's his agenda? He should explain. I want him to expand on that. Is it that the agenda is to try and diminish Irish businesses? Because it probably is, guys. You know, the BBC and the British work hand in hand. The media machine, if you guys don't understand, should be critiquing the government. Instead, they work for the government because then they get better wages and higher pay, and they don't get critiqued as hard because the government pays the BBC reporters, guys. It's a mouthpiece for the government.
You flatter me enormous, Mr. O'Leary. I've never met you before. I've heard so much about
They're driven
you.
by the questions. Hidden charge.
Quick tape change.
See, I'm happy to do an
When
interview.
you
Not unedited at all.
talk
As long as you agree that the interview won't be cut, won't be censored to suit the Panorama agenda, which is a biased one. We do not have hidden charges. If you had any research facility at all, you know all of our charges are upfront and available. The only thing that Ryanair is famous for is guaranteeing the lowest fares. We offer the number one punctuality. We cancel fewer flights. We have fewer lost bags than either EasyJet or British Airways. And the BBC, for some remarkable reason,
Let me
doesn't appear to
surprise you.
like it.
Let me surprise you, Mr.
Yeah, they don't like it because he's undercutting everybody, guys. Like, when you undercut people, you know, British Airways, when you undercut whatever, you know, Aer Lingus, they're going to hate you guys because you're making more money than them. You're doing better business than them.
Why? You're going to cut all of this out.
Not only do we know that, we know that by one measure, that of scheduled international passengers carried, you are now the biggest airline in the world.
No, we're Britain's favourite airline. There's not one measure. We have more.
Funny, Britain's favourite airline is an Irish company. That's pretty legendary.
We carry 3 times more passengers than British Airways.
We know
don't
you-
force those passengers to fly with us. Every passenger who makes a booking with us is aware of all the charges, must select and agree to those charges before they're... Why then are we growing this year by 15%? Why will we carry an extra 9 million passengers this year?
And what's
in
your
a year
answer?
when British Airways will lose about another 3 or 4 million passengers?
We'd
And
like
yet
to-
Dude, he's roasting British Airways. This is legendary.
the only agenda the Panorama is here is, Ryanair levies hidden charges. We don't.
Give us a break.
Dude, Michael O'Leary is getting fired up, guys. This is going to turn into a boxing match. Someone get the celebrity boxing match between this guy, Vivian White, and Michael O'Leary.
We want to
Give
ask
us an
about-
interview that you won't cut or censor. I'll answer any questions you want. You set the time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I'll happily agree to whatever interview length you want, as long as you agree not to cut it, not to censor it, to facilitate the Panorama agenda.
You're not running the clock now, are you?
I am, because I've got to go and do a live interview with BBC You and Yours on Radio 4. What time am I on? It's 12.
Yeah.
Just agree that you won't cut the interview, and I'll happily do the interview.
I will agree
I've
that
now
we'll-
done an interview here for 15.
That's my point.
You've been able to doorstep me for 15 or 20 minutes to do an interview here, and you can cut it to your heart's content.
But that's a very curious way of negotiating. You're saying...
Because I can't get out of the hotel and go to do an interview with BBC unless I come past your
Mr.
your
O'Leary, to be
camera.
clear, we want to treat you fairly. And
But
that
you
is
don't
all
want
there
to
is to it.
treat Ryanair fairly. You want to ask loaded questions, such as the one, why does Ryanair have hidden charges when Ryanair has no hidden charges?
want to-
Yeah, true. They want to diminish the and kind of, you know, pull him down a notch, guys. They want to make him seem out to be like he's a bad guy. They want to basically, you know, ruin his character and say that the business has a lot of hidden charges and a lot of, you know, sneaky fees and all this type of thing, where it doesn't.
I'll ask you about your deal, about the deal you nearly reached with Airbus when you shook hands with Airbus on a deal.
Complete rubbish.
It's not true that you shook hands with Airbus on a deal and then went to Boeing elsewhere?
Absolutely not.
Well, that's what we want to ask you about.
But I just agree then. You can ask me those questions as long as you agree whether you ask me those questions.
Strange questions.
A 5-minute interview, a 10-minute interview, a 15-minute interview that you won't cut or censor the answers. I think, look, if the BBC is really interested in freedom of speech, if the BBC is really interested in having a balanced debate, I don't see what you were afraid of. You can ask me any questions you like, and all I've asked is that you won't cut or censor the replies, and then you can have an interview of whatever duration you wish. Listen, I'm really sorry, I've got to go. You can hear me on BBC Radio 4 in about 10 minutes time answering the same loaded nonsensical questions as Panorama.
I love that. Yeah, they have an agenda, guys. All these media news outlets, News Talk, RTE in Ireland as well, not just the BBC, guys. In Ireland as well, we have our own propaganda machines here that just run these news stories. They push agendas, they push their own woke agenda, they push their own agendas against these big anti-business, anti-corporation businesses because they don't want competition from the government. Stuff like that, guys, it's just wild, bro. It's wild. The media nowadays is just so corrupt, it's unbelievable.
Wants to ask, and if you want to agree to an uncut, uncensored interview, I would be delighted to have an interview with you and Panorama at any time.
It is a pleasure to talk to you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Did you fly here on Ryanair?
No.
What was with the big pause? He paused for about 10 seconds there. He was like, yeah, he flew here with Ryanair.
Want to agree to an...
I'll answer that for you. Yes, he flew here with Ryanair. Of course he did.
Uncut, uncensored interview. I would be delighted to have an interview with you and Panorama at any time.
It is a pleasure to talk to you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Did you fly here on Ryanair? No. You see, more BBC waste. They didn't fly on the lowest fare, most punctual airline. Who did you fly over here with?
We flew here with BMI.
The high fare. Look, this is what's wrong.
BMI as in a private, very, very private, expensive, premium airlines, guys. No climate change where they are, guys. You know what I mean? They just lie, guys. We have to believe it.
Wrong with a license payers' money in Britain is being wasted.
And next week we're flying by Ryanair.
Next week you'll be flying by Ryanair. Why didn't you fly over here on Ryanair? We offer more flights, better punctuality, far more range of flights to Dublin, and a much lower fare. You would have saved the BBC licence payer and the BBC a fortune.
You would have saved the BBC licence payer. Jesus, dude. Michael O'Leary is roasting the BBC.
Money. What are many of you here? 4 of you. You probably saved about £400 for the licence payer by simply flying with Ryanair.
You'll be very glad to know we have a locally hired crew, and that we've stayed at a cheap hotel so as to oblige the licence payer. And for that matter,
if you come on Ryanair today, you could have travelled on a free. If you'd paid with Visa Electron, you could have travelled on a free fare, brought your own crew, and there you wouldn't have had to rent other guys locally here in Ireland, again at the cost of the licence payer and BBC. Look, if you want to have an interview with me, happy to have an interview, answer any questions you like. Just please agree that you won't cut it or censor it to kind of favour the Panorama agenda. Other than that, love Panorama, great show. Not very fond of the BBC, bit of an agenda against Ryanair, but then maybe that...
Oh, dude, the BBC has an agenda against everybody, guys. They're trying to cancel people, let's say, overseas in Romania and all this crazy stuff. It's a complete agenda. It's a wash, guys. And they're all in on it together, guys. They're like flipping the devil. They're like snakes. We're going to take everybody down, We're the media. We're going to take everybody down. But with YouTube, guys, I'm getting some videos I get 40,000 views on these political videos. I mean, we're talking massive views, guys. Oh, well, they're okay views, but compared to what some of these news outlets get, it's tenfold.
That's because
they're supposed to be the biggest news in the whole country. So who's bigger? County Gaines flipping News Media Network, or they are?
we're popular, the public love us, maybe the BBC not quite so much. But we hope you struggle out with the present BBC financial difficulties. I think Ryanair is the way forward, but I would encourage everybody in the BBC, fly Ryanair in future and save the licence payers a fortune.
I wonder why they call you outspoken. I wonder why they call you outspoken. I wonder why they call you outspoken.
They call me beloved, caring, sensitive, shy and retiring. It's lovely to meet you. By the way, before you leave, if you want to have an interview with me, as long as you agree not to cut it or censor it, there's the building over there. Happily give you 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever duration of time you'd like.
Your kindness.
Thank you very much.
Your kindness and sensitivity.
And remember, fly Ryanair. Save the save the licence payers a fortune. God bless. See you
Journalists are just always so stumped. They're like, and they're trying to act like holier than thou, like all quiet, like British people. Oh, can't answer back to that. Oh my God. Do you understand that you are a very arrogant man. They wonder why you call him outspoken. Like, bro, shut the hell up, bro. You know what I mean? Vivian White. Vivian is a woman's name, anyways. The guy has a woman's name. Vivian. That's a lady's name. I thought it was a woman interviewing it. No, it's a man. So, good job on your name, brother. Anyway, I love you guys all, man. Let me know your comments. I'll see you guys all in the next one, man. Stay free and not brainwashed. Peace.